This is professional radio, gentlemen.
And it's front-wheel drive.
Scotty, have you got anyone you want to thank?
Just myself.
And now we do the after hours. Dun, dun, dun.
Gentlemen, what would you go for?
Dacia Sandero.
Okay, and because it's not a supercar.
But it is.
It's not.
Automotive perfection comes in the form of two letters, A and U.
Long live my LTD.
So, rotary, crazy powerful, complete opposite to your Corolla, but in terms of handling and whatnot, as well. Mid-range, in between those, you got really into your Datsun 1600s.
I did, yeah.
And why a Datsun 1600? And you obviously you've got such an affinity for them. You own two, but as a race car, they're a very successful car.
Yeah.
In terms of all many forms of motorsport, especially rallying.
People are still rallying them nowadays.
They still rally them. That is very true. People talk about escorts and stuff from that era, but I think the real unsung hero is the 1600. And from a lot of people, they remember that more fondly.
Yeah, and there's that interesting thing with the Escort, because globally they were a much more successful car in motorsport than the Datsun 1600, but that's because rallying was very Euro and British centric in that era, and we didn't have media coverage and magazines from anywhere except there for the English speaking world. So all of our knowledge of the sport was, even out here, was kind of dominated by Escorts, but the British didn't actually see the cars from Japan and other parts of Asia that we had competing here. So they're surprised when they see a Datsun 1600 nowadays. What an incredible car it was for back then.
I mean, you compare apples for apples, right? Like the Escort live rear axle, very quite agricultural, leaf sprung in the rear. The 1600, independent rear, quite cool sprung, much more technologically advanced vehicle.
Very long travel suspension, which in Australian conditions for rallying is perfect. It's fantastic. Right? And again, a bit like we mentioned right at the front of the show, great interchangeability with the other models in the range. So you could bolt a 240Z gearbox on, or a 240K, anything L series motor 4 or 6 is completely interchangeable. So to have heavy duty items, you'd use the water pumps, fuel pumps, the gearbox, the diff, shorten the prop shaft, the axles, were all bigger on the 6-cylinder models, but straight bolt-ins.
Yep. So for a rally car build, you would just go, all right.
You go to the wreckers.
You'd find a 240Z there, and you'd be like, all right, I'm taking the shafts, taking this, taking that.
Correct.
And so the rally rules allowed you to do that sort of stuff, like interchange parts from...
In that era, they did.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Some of those parts were homologated for the 1600. So, in Australia, we went through a lot of changes of regulations. I won't get us bogged down on that. But when I was running my Datsun 1600, yes, you could put a rotary in it if you wanted to, or a V8, you could do whatever you liked just for a short period till it got out of control. So that was allowed. However, Nissan did win like the East African Safari Rally with Datsun 1600s, and they took some to Monte Carlo, and so they homologated. It was called, there were groups 1, 2, 3, and 4, and Escorts were a group 4 car, the most mods allowed. And they built some group 2 Datsuns in that era, and it was an L cheapo homologation because they just homologated a lot of those parts that came off other models and things.
Yeah, well, they already produced them, right? So they were like, well, let's just put it in this small chassis, and obviously
the diffs. The Datsun diff is called an R160, which I think is the size of the crown wheel or something. The R180 out of the Z or the 240K bolt, or even the R200. People use those. Nowadays. So everything. The R180 is straight swap for the 160. And you could buy the Nissan Motorsport limited slip for it. You could change the ramp angles in the diff easy. You could build a beautiful car. I just used a 240K gearbox in mine. Hollinger Engineering in those days, the gearbox manufacturer is still around.
Still around,
yeah. They produced a gear kit for the 240K box where you changed first, second, and third gear. So really long first gear. And close ratio second, third, brought them up to the 1 to 1/4, and then you still had your overdrive fifth. And in South Australia, where I was mainly competing, we have a lot of high-speed roads. So although there was a Nissan homologated 1-to-1 fifth gear gearbox from the 260Z, I think, or two, based on that box, you didn't have enough top speed for SA. So the K gearbox worked really well. Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so cool to just build these cars out of other parts and
shed
in your own shed and then go and rally them.
Yeah. I mean, in my case, a lot of it was done with Mick Wooding, the guy I mentioned earlier. But, he had his own workshop and it was, we would do it after hours.
To that. Yeah. It's really good. Just having the resource.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
But there were plenty of people, winning rallies in cars they built at home.
That's amazing.
It's a different time, isn't it?
Like, it really is. It's so different now. It's just like it's however much. I mean, look, obviously it comes down to a lot to driver ability too, but it's like putting someone in let's just go K10 for example, versus an Evo 9 MR rally car.
Yeah,
it's like driver skill only comes in so much where how much money you're paying for the actual vehicle is also making a massive difference to the how you compete in that rally world, right?
100%. And I think Neil Bates and myself and Possumborn, we were probably the last 3 factory drivers in Australia winning championships that got there without parental money.
Yeah, okay.
I think there'd be some guys would be cringing, going, "Oh, I worked hard." Yes, you worked hard, etc. But somebody underwrote or looked after you or had you in the family business. Or whereas we genuinely were on our own income, from nowhere. Because and you literally that's right. It doesn't matter how hard you work as a teacher; it's the same pay as that other one down the corridor who's coming last.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so. I think now it's near impossible for a young person, to try and break into motorsport without parental support. And there are a lot of families providing that support, which is a wonderful thing to see. And there are a lot of people from families that can afford to buy them a really good car, pretty early on and give them those opportunities. And there is enough of them that they are genuinely talented drivers. You can't take anything away from that.
No.
It's just you can't do it on a working class pay. You can rally as an amateur, but even then it's pretty tough.
Barrier to entry is so much higher than let's just say in your day that it's a really different world.
You front it up dressed as we are now. You didn't even have to have a crash helmet if you didn't want to. I had, whereas you've probably got $20,000 worth of safety.
Yeah, absolutely. Your harness devices and all your restraints,
So, did you find obviously 1600? You got a bit of success in that car.
I did.
Yeah, and now it holds a very dear place in your heart.
And it was, I'd spent so much money on the rotaries because I was still largely self-funded.
Yeah.
Had some good sponsors, but, it was an expensive car to run. And Kath and I went over to the UK and lived for 8 months. I was thinking maybe there's a chance to break into the sport in England, but their barriers to entry cost-wise were way worse than here.
Oh, right.
So we had a good time over there, learned a lot, but there was no way without being able to stump up the money for a good spec Escort or something that you were going to be any good. And I thought I'll come back and build a car that's kind of like Clubman spec plus, something that I can build relatively affordably and not have to buy a lot of new parts for, say, 2 or 3 seasons, where I really focus on the craft of going rallying, even if the car's not super competitive. Just really become it was the first time I'd really thought about this, to be a champion in motorsport, and this applies probably to anything you're in. The fundamental thing is you've got to be a fast driver in a fast car, but there's these 6 or 8, maybe 10 things that you have to be a master of as well that makes you a champion, because ultimately you get to a level of competition where everybody's a fast driver in a fast car. So you're separated by the other things you do, like gaining and retaining sponsorship or working with the engineers and, all of that kind of stuff. And I kind of thought about that and thought I'll try and really get across everything else so that if I can get into a fast car, I've got all the other boxes ticked. But the Datsun was surprisingly competitive. I did much better in that than in the Rotary, because you could just drive it flat out everywhere.
Mm.
And, it was, I picked up better sponsors with it, everything, because I was working, for the first time I was working on other things, not on the car.
Mm.
And, it was a very good car for me.
And how long did you run that for?
3 years.
3 years, okay. And that's when you start to see some success.
And that was when the next step was to a brand new Subaru.
Yeah, okay.
So already you saw the fruits of that. And I'd built up kind of sponsorship relationships with Bridgestone, Heller, and Pedders suspension.
Wow.
And then when I went into the Subaru, they were all on board fully.
Oh.
It was a brand new car.
Yeah.
Close relationship with the factory, televised events.
Yeah.
Get
Get their sticker on the car.
Yeah. And I had, Bridgestone, Heller, I think they were on my cars. Well, certainly I used to still bring that sponsorship onto them, in the Rally Art era. And Pedders, we won the national championship in a VR4 in full Pedders colours and everything. So I was Pedders' first national rally champion, but they've had some others since.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And that was in the VR4. So
Yep.
yeah, okay, cool. Oh wow. So you went Corolla,
Rotary Mazda,
Rotary.
Datsun, Subaru, and then
into Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi was professional career for me, the whole way. Look, it was wonderful. I still pinch myself that happened, and it's a snowballing thing. You get a foot in the door with some sponsors and with Subaru, and then look, some listeners will certainly know this, that we took our first Galant VR4, which Pedders helped me buy, Kevin Pedder in South Australia, and we took it to the first World Rally Championship round in Australia in Perth. So as a private team, but we did have help from Mitsubishi and Rally Art, but privately entered, and we beat we were in this group and production category. There's 2 levels, like nowadays there's WRC 1 for the big guns and WRC 2 for the next level. And we were in Group N to Group A, so that's second tier, but more cars in that than in the outright category. And we beat the world champions, the current world champions, by 20 minutes, which is huge.
Enough time to have a bit of a cappuccino.
And Mitsubishi entered 2 VR4s in the Group A category, and we split them and were ahead of one of their cars in the production version. So your career there's no turning back. The factory team saying, who's this ahead of us over the podium?
The next league down, essentially.
Yeah, we were in front.
That would have been a bit of a kick in the guts to them.
So my life changed from that event on, because it was a big event for us, big turning point. And that's how I became contracted. When I spoke at Magna 40 about Mitsubishi being there, looking after, they had a no motorsports policy, but they were looking after Rally Art who were attending the event. And suddenly, for a while there, we were in front of both of their cars. They were going, who's this kind of thing? So if you can beat the factory team,
you're doing all right
in their own sort of car, and you're from a class below.
You're going to make your name is going to come up in conversation at least, right? So then Mitsubishi approach you and go, hey, what's the conversation, or what's the talk like from going from that category to the next?
It's a lengthy description, but in essence, it was from a guy called Charles Isles, who was head of marketing and communications of Mitsubishi, being at the rally, coming up and saying, that's a fantastic performance, and come in and see us, but we've got a no motorsports policy. We can't put money, because Mitsubishi had bought Chrysler, and Chrysler, in Mitsubishi's eyes, had squandered a lot of money on the charges in motorsport and not kept proper recording and expenses, etc. And so they were
being blocked out of it.
They were under instructions, no more motorsport activity. He said, that's not on, but there might be some other ways we can help. And that leads me to kind of what I said at Magna 40, that Charles opened the door. I did the launch of VR4 in Australia, so there was Australian models were coming. So this was before them being launched here. And that was paid opportunities for work and ultimately a contract with Mitsubishi Motors for all of that work I did on Magnas and so on, which gave me a really good income and the freedom to go and do rallies, and then rally up. And a guy called Les walked in Tasmania, who was the kind of the rally out for domestic rallying. Ultimately, they provided the cars and the mechanics and the crews and all of that stuff, and I was taken care of by Mitsubishi Motors.
Pretty awesome.
And from one event, really.
Yeah.
And an interesting throwback to school teaching. Charles Ars, that manager, I had taught his daughters at primary school. Because that teaching paid off. And they were delightful kids. It was terrific.
So would you have met them in like a parent-teacher interview at some point? Or?
I met Charles at a parent-teacher night for sure.
Yeah.
And I had the last parent-teacher night I saw him at, we touched upon rallying, but he look, at the time I thought he was a no motorsport guy at all, but then I grew to understand he actually would have loved it to have happened. He just had to toe the corporate line. But he was great supportive for me, for sure. And there was another guy, there was a guy in the fleet department called John Plummer, who's passed away, but it's fleet. When we had Australian manufacturing, it's the fleet department that did a lot of the corporate events because they're trying to sell to the big fleet companies, Telstra, Commonwealth Bank Finance.
Buy a million Magna wagons so you can put all your stuff in there.
You've got it. So you want the fleet department on site because they're chipping in. And then John Plummer reported to a guy called Rex Keeley, who was one of the directors of Mitsubishi. So he ultimately signed off on effectively motorsports participation, but my role in motorsports, I was only Mitsubishi Motors Australia's only ever signed up driver for anything. So Rex Keeley was important, and Rex got the Gilbert's Motor Museum in Strathalbyn going. With the Strathalbyn tourism nowadays. So I still see Rex regularly
all the time. That's actually really cool. See, it's funny how like it really is a small world when you think about it in terms of like the people you meet and stuff. Now I've got to ask you, did his kids still call you Mr. Ordynski? Like
Mr. O?
Mr. O?
Always Mr. O. Really. It was primary school, and so they were pretty young, but they knew I was rallying and that kind of stuff.
You've been the coolest teacher, when
I first started teaching, I was at a school called Fulham Gardens, then I got posted to Elizabeth Field Primary School, Elizabeth Northern Suburbs, kind of certainly back then quite a rough area, a lot of discipline problems, and I would have to sometimes take my rally car, which was the KU10, to school because I was going to go and drive right across the city to work on it at night at Rick's workshop. And you wondered how the kids would be, but I would ask the kind of the worst group of year sevens who are likely to, strip it or something. Would you look after it for me? Like, I want to trust you guys like lunch, recess, you're in charge of my car. And they were great. They never had any trouble.
Like, don't touch Mr. O's car. Bash ya.
couple of thugs waiting out the front of the car.
Obviously, your documented history with Evos is it's incredible history. I mean, Scotty's owned an Evo. He owned an Evo 8 on this podcast, and he loved it. So you probably would have felt a bit like Mr. Ordynski at one point. You're like, oh, look at me go. But
I wish.
Oh yeah. So you obviously raced the Evos all the way up, and but your relationship with Mitsubishi, like for what you did for, obviously we met you at Magna 40.
Yeah.
For what you like, the stuff that you did, and we were having a chat last night, a little bit about this, but it was the little things like some people would call them, the stuff you got to do to get paid, but in terms of what you did, there were so many other different things and people you've come across. Like you've met all different celebrities. You've taught driving to people. You drove around Australia in what, 19 days or something?
In the Commodore in the Round Australia trial.
Yeah. And like, you were with Peter Brock, like,
Sure. Yes.
And it's just like, these are the people that you've met, which just absolutely, blows, I think blows all our minds. Doing stuff like that, like coming to Magna 40, and you were saying yesterday how you weren't feeling like, oh, what's this going to be like? And you really felt at home doing it. Did it bring you back to kind of, working for Mitsubishi with like to help developing suspension tuning and things like that? Like,
I thought it was wonderful because I think for the first time my work with Magna was recognized.
yeah,
And bear in mind, all drivers, it doesn't matter if you're racing supercars with Holden, those drivers still had to do the sort of corporate events that I did with Mitsubishi. They would actually a lot of those drivers would rather have been contracted to Holden than to Holden Racing Team.
Oh, really?
Because, it's that work with the manufacturer that gives you longevity.
Yeah.
I had a career for so long till I was 50 because you've got a relationship with the manufacturer. If you were just employed by the racing team, you could be swapped out for a younger guy or anything,
Wow.
I think it was a big advantage to have that situation. But Mitsubishi didn't do with their motorsport like Subaru, really link it to their marketing and product stuff because of that split between Rally Art and Mitsubishi Motors. But that didn't mean that I didn't do at least as much work as the guys in Holden did for General Motors Holden, as opposed to driving the racing cars.
Yeah.
So we're still very similar, but I was paid to drive the rally cars and I was paid to do the corporate work. So our income was the same as supercar drivers, but Mitsubishi wanted me to do as much of that behind the scenes work with Magna as I had the time to do. So the opportunities were fantastic and they were very long term. So at first I did it purely because it was part and parcel of being able to drive the rally cars. But after a while, you're working with the engineers and you get to know the film company guys and all of the associated agencies and there's a factory and you can go and talk to the workers. And
They're real people.
I had free run of the factory. I didn't ever have to do anything with security. I could just walk in and say hi and wave and walk through, and it was wonderful. But I'm known for the rallies, not for that in the outside world.
Yeah.
And Magna 40 was the first time I've ever spoken publicly, about my work.
Yeah.
Because all those videos that Andrew, I think, got out of the archives, I wouldn't have thought they still existed, but they were, the audience for those was in-house Mitsubishi and corporate launches and so on. So they were never public. And it was like a body of work. And who would have thought, all those years later that so many people would turn up and young people would turn up and have appreciation for something that I did 30 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was a part of my life, and never had recognition for it. Never thought I would have recognition, and it was the same as the other Mitsubishi people there. It felt very, very special.
Yeah.
That it's looked back on like that. Yeah. Yeah. What else can I say? It was
Speaking with Andrew last night, and David can attest to this. This was quite funny. So that video of you sliding that Magna, you were left foot braking and doing all those different techniques to get the Magna to rotate, and in the where was that?
That was in Kaitpo Forest in South Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've told us the story last time. I'll get you to it because it's actually quite funny. But that video only got released because Andrew, I believe, got access to all this
through Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi, archival footage.
Yeah.
So he was putting in tapes. He was explaining to us last night and watching it, and he was watching a introductory video about the TR, yeah. And basically kind of dozed off because at the end of it, it just went blank, and it was apparently there was a 6-minute gap, and then he kind of was dozing off, and he woke up, and then he didn't realize it was still playing, and he'd seen this video before, and but he stopped it because obviously it went to black, and he's there's nothing left in this tape. At the end of the tape was that footage of him sliding this Magna around.
Oh, that's where it was.
That's where it was, and he found it by mistake.
I'm pretty sure it was never used for anything. I think it was probably kept out of any promo things because they didn't want the car being quite so
used in that manner.
Yeah, for sure. I don't recall seeing it at anything.
So was that the first time you'd seen that footage since?
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I think I said this at Magna 40, so forgive me for repeating it, but it was such a tiny window to get that shot because my life was a blur of things I was going to all the time with events in Asia and races and all sorts of stuff. And the Kojo Productions, who produced all of those Magna videos, just rang me up and said, "Are you in South Australia tomorrow morning? We forgot to shoot some gravel coverage for the TR launch. Could you just whiz up to Kaipo? We'll have a helicopter, 3 cameramen, and just get some footage on the dirt." And Mitsubishi just said, "You can't not have gravel footage." And I whizzed up. The forest was close to home, and met the crew. They were ready to go at like 9:30 in the morning, and I said, "What do you want me to do? Just drive along a gravel road, or do you want, a bit of
fun?"
Yeah. And he said, "Oh, I don't know. Just do both. Can you do one run of one and one run of the other?" And that's what we did. And I was back home by 11 o'clock in the morning, because you were in those cars so often, doing stuff. And it wasn't. I think when that went viral, people were posting, they would have had 3 cars and taken a week to film it and all that. It wasn't. It was just a couple of takes, and it was. I mean, I look at it and think it looks nice. Just,
when you Google your name, the first photo that comes up is the VRVS Commodore that you did the tour in.
Yep.
The first video that comes up is that red Magna being split around on the tarmac. Yeah, because I guess it's gotten so many views on Facebook that it's that's like the first recommended video that comes up.
It's incredible. It's it's very special. Yeah. And I had, other Australian rally champions ring me and go, "What is that? Is that some special 4-wheel drive one or something?" And I'd go, "No, it was kind of, I was in them day in, day out, and you just had the finesse for the left foot braking."
I've got to ask you, it must have been such good times in Australian motoring history then. Like, David and I were talking, and you bumped into some of the people that would work there, and they would always say, "Oh, they were great years, David. They were great years, of working for Mitsubishi on the assembly line or in the design department." Was it exciting seeing the cars like being developed and hidden from the public, and seeing them kind of come from nowhere to a fully functioning car and being part of that? Did you feel like you achieved something?
Yeah.
Did you feel like when you saw one on the road, you're like, "Oh, I didn't put in that," that was, or was it just kind of like, "Oh, it's just part of the job"?
No, never just part of the job. Far more, as you described, for sure, because you knew the people and it was their livelihood. And it was such a transformation from the Chrysler factory to Mitsubishi ownership, because Mitsubishi brought in all of those people working in teams and, changing their duties, rotating, doing other things. So you had people wearing uniforms and being identified by the team of employees, and it made it like family. So very special to see those products. And, I'll digress from Mitsubishi. Holden, when we did the Round Australia trial, which was a full-on rally, it was 19,000 kilometers, of which 4,200 was competitive stages, 2-car team with Peter Brock, good budget, etc. But we went to the Elizabeth factory in South Australia, Brock and I, after hours, to meet the people who had been chosen to build the Commodores that we were getting for the Round Australia, so that we met the workers who actually
that's cool.
And we followed our cars, along
in the line,
along the line, along with Ross Dunkerton's car, the 3rd car in the team, a test car. And I think there were about 8, because 1995 was the first year of V8 supercars.
Yeah,
and they were still built from production body shells, and Holden and Ford. That's the beauty of local manufacturing, isn't it? They put special body shells down the production line with a lot of the things that you didn't require for a race car not attached to it, and then some of the things you do. So our Round Australia cars, for example, in a VRVS Commodore, the whole front dash toe board assembly drops in from the top through the windscreen aperture.
They're glued in,
and it's glued.
Yeah.
Seam. So they were all pre-drilled for all the holes for the roll cages. Through the dash and everything.
Yeah.
So, and it was fantastic to see, and those workers were so proud, and to have Peter Brock there as well, of course. But
big name.
You just stood there going. Well, he said he did the same in '79 for the VB Commodores. They were built at the plant, and he saw the cars being built. So Holden was so across that sort of thing, as indeed was Mitsubishi with me. They always involved me in things in the canteen and worker stuff, etc.
Yeah.
They make you feel part of the whole manufacturing operation.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's
So a car like that Commodore in particular, would it have a VIN number, or was it just a straight?
Yeah, I'm sure it would have.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it would.
Because
Yeah, it would have to have, I think, to get because it had to be driven on the street.
Street. Okay. Yeah.
For
Absolutely.
the liaison stages. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? What was that event like?
It was.
It would have been grueling.
Yeah, you had to be fit for it because you know, the basic format was you drove. Typical stage might start at 6 in the morning. You might start the day, and you'd go all day, all night to 6 p.m. the following day with a 3-hour rest break only.
Oh my goodness!
And then you'd get the next night off.
Yeah.
So it was endurance plus. You know, they're called a marathon event, and you've got to be very fit. You're going speeds through the outback. You know, it started in Brisbane. First leg was Brisbane to Melbourne with a 3-hour rest break, or forestry stages all down the east coast. The team was incredibly well organised, and then you went Melbourne to Adelaide, and so had the night off in Adelaide. Then you did Adelaide to Alice Springs, so up through the Flinders Ranges. They were really rugged stages. You know, we won a stage, I think, with an average speed of about 40 kilometres an hour. Like we stopped and looked how to get across creek crossings. It was around 2-wheel drive, and there were Evos and.
Yeah.
I think. It looked tough, but an absolute blur for me. You know, that year, that event was 3 weeks of your life, but they had a test car built the year before. And so the build up to the event with Holden was enormous. I had dispensation from Mitsubishi, but, you know, I did, I think there were 10 or 12 rounds of the National Rally Championship. I went up to rallies in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, did World Championship Rally New Zealand, World Championship Rally Perth, the Sandown 500, the Bathurst 1000, Eastern Creek 12-hour with Volvo, all in the one season. And all the corporate events that go with that. You know, I was away from home 8 months of the year.
Yeah.
And I actually got to the end of, to answer your question, you know, grueling event, huge build-up. You finished on the final day and you went to a prize giving, and it was an enormous function on the Gold Coast. And they had film of all the, you know, winners of all the Red X trials, finishing and going over the podium and announcing them. And then it got to Ross Runnels, my co-driver, and I, and you felt an incredible part of history.
Yeah.
But the next morning I went to New Zealand for a rally. You know, it's done and gone, and you're off. So
on to the next thing,
you know, you don't have time to really soak it all up.
Yeah.
It's years after you think, wow, did I really do that? You know, and
did you soak it in and like actually?
Yeah.
I guess being in the hot seat, you're focused on getting to the next area, the next stop. And you're just like, I think actually experiencing it is probably a very minor part of your own experience, right?
Yeah.
But as you said, it's probably a blur.
It's a blur.
Yeah.
You know, I think, well, you know, all those nighttime in blinding dust from cars in front. And it was another big turning point for me with Mitsubishi. But Mitsubishi Mitsubishi gave me permission to drive for Holden in that event. I had to get, because I was already contracted, but they had no intention of going in it. And then Mitsubishi Japan changed their minds and wanted Rally Art drivers in it, contacted me.
Oh,
I
really?
Signed to Holden, so that was quite
you
difficult.
had to say no to Mitsubishi for that event.
Yeah. And they decided to then put their money into funding privateers properly and helping them to do well. And Rally Art Australia mechanics assisted those guys. And, you know, the two of the, Lancer Evolution and Galant VR4 support from Rally Art, and with some of my Rally Art mechanics helping was second and third in the event. So
that would have been cool to see.
You know,
also coming up.
Yeah. So I kind of had mixed feelings about that too. You know, it was nice to win it in Holden, of course. And my teammates, you know, were really fantastic. Holden had a super team. You know, it was Peter Brock and Ross Dunkerton, who's arguably is Australia's most decorated Australian rally driver. But George Shepherd, the team manager who masterminded 79, he did say to me before the event started, he was hoping one of the strengths for me in the team, because he was a guy who always told you where you stood, was to follow a strategy, you know, of what was wanted to look after the car, be in where to go hard from what they'd learned in 1979. And
Oh yeah,
he was
right.
very
Yeah.
specific. He wanted me to go fast down the East Coast, but try and be, he said, if
Be gentle.
you could be in the top 3 by Melbourne, we're in a really good place to push hard up through the Flinders Range. And,
Yeah, okay.
and we were 3rd in Melbourne. One of the Evos broke a gearbox in the Flinders Ranges.
Oh,
It was kind of like George's little plan of what could be happening.
yeah.
Try and be in the lead by Broome, because that's a long run from Perth to Broome nonstop.
Yeah.
And then it's immediately followed by, up through Kimberley and Gibb River Road, which I think is a, tourist off-roady sort of, it was rough road anyway, flat out. Through there you can really stretch the legs of the Commodore and try and get to Darwin with some minutes in hand.
Yeah.
And we only won the event by, 10 minutes or something.
Oh, wow.
It was close for that sort of distance.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
that's nice.
Yeah.
I had a question going back with the Mitsubishis. You were doing really, really well with the Galants, the VR4s,
Yes.
and then you moved into the Evo. I was wondering, what was it like changing from the Galant into the Evo? Was it a massive difference? Did you notice that the Evos were just above and beyond, or was it kind of fairly similar in driving experience?
It was pretty similar. Obviously, Evo 1 was faster because in the cars we rallied, which were those RS model VR4s that were homologated for motorsport use, so they began as like a 220 horsepower one, the first one in 1988, 89, and then they went to maybe a 240, and then there was kind of what's commonly referred to as a VR4 evolution, and that was the one with those vents in the bonnet, the last of them, and that was really up-spec'd, and had stronger suspension arms and better hubs, bigger brakes. I think they might have been 5-stud like a Lancer Evolution or whatever, or maybe they were all 4-stud still, but bigger PCD or something. So bigger hubs, bigger brakes. So that last VR4 was getting to be quite a good spec car, and you had mechanical limited slip diffs homologated, and the gearboxes were always strong, but you had better ratios for being on the boost for longer. And that complete mechanical, why that one's referred to as VR4 Evolution, is that whole mechanical pack was shoehorned into the Lancer. So the Lancer Evo 1 was a VR4 Evolution under the skin. So the mechanical pack was absolutely totally as interchangeable as it can be. So it felt very similar, but they were fast because, of course, they were nimble, and, size is everything for rallying, as in smaller is better. And super quick. And you didn't have turbo restrictors, like circuit racing and rallying. They're always controlling the top speeds by, I think the inlet diameter on the turbo is maybe 50 or 55 mil, and they had a 34 or 32 mil restrictor by the mid 90s. But back then it was just open go. So those VR4s and the Lance, I know I went through a speed gun in a tarmac rally round of the championship in Tassie at 230 odd kilometers an hour in an Evo 1, and I did a top speed run for Mitsubishi to get it to the rev limiter in 5th gear, and it did almost 250 kilometers an hour. That's when the boost wound right up. And but they had to start controlling those speeds because it's too fast on forestry roads. They don't have that potential. Evo 2 was a wonderful car too. That had, Evo 1 had some geometry problems. It's, are you familiar with Evo 1?
A little bit with the Evo 1s, but I kind of know a little bit more from about Evo 2 onwards.
So they had this multi-link rear end in them, which was not as good as the VR4s, so it had less travel than VR4. But the big issue was those multi-links, when you have to use the standard joints, they bound up. They couldn't use the whole travel properly unless they were absolutely aligned perfectly. And there was a lot of bump steer, change of toe angle through the travel. So you had some instability, and they really went to town on the Evo 2 and fixed all that steering from the rear problem that the Evo 1 had.
Wow. So it would have been just completely different for you than jumping into one of those. It
was different in that the mechanical package I was very familiar with, so it kind of felt the same in the steering, the gear change, and the performance. But the VR4 had 4-wheel steering, which I always had connected.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You were allowed
okay.
to disconnect it.
Yeah.
But because I developed this kind of smooth and straight driving style to get speed onto straights, when that self steers at the rear, it actually keeps the car in the ruts really well and doesn't allow, it allows it to go sideways under power, but it's a lot harder to get it to go sideways under power. And we back-to-backed heavily throughout the VR4's life, because even Rally Up was saying, no, all our other drivers take the steering rack out of the back. But, like I won the Group N category at the WRC with it against VR4s from all over the world, 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So why would you change a good thing? And I still was open-minded and would try it. But, it makes sense because you're on that ball-bearing gravel and the roads become like a two-wheel track with the passage of the cars, and the back wants to ride up out of the ruts, and then you're in the marbles and you go really sideways. But the four-wheel steering really kept it in the ruts much better. And that worked on wherever you went. So I missed that in the Evo 1, but mechanically exactly the same setup, followed exactly the same principles. Everything was interchangeable, but Evo 2 was quite fixed all the problems of Evo 1, made it much more like a VR4 in terms of its stability. Evo 3 was a backwards step from a rally point of view, better as a road car, but it had a smaller turbo for better response and things like that. But it also copped a turbo restrictor as well. So it felt well down on power and torque compared to what we had been running.
Is that because of just the regulations?
Because of the regulations to pull the speed of the cars back. So there was a great performance drop-off between Evo 2 and Evo 3, which I feel like saying, therefore Evo 2 was a much better car, but that was brought about by regulations, not by the cars themselves. Evo 4, you don't see many of those rallied because it weighed so much more and didn't have the performance. And, we chose to bypass Evo 4 because we could never I had one as a brand new car for recce, for reconnaissance, for making the pace notes, but it was fully spec out, but we could never get it to be quicker than the Evo 3. And then Evo 5 was a massive workover of Evo 4. Evo 6 was the best of anything probably ever. It's highly regarded as a roadie and a rally car. A lot of the hot weather testing for that car was done here in Australia, even for the roadies. So I did driving for that. That's why they've got all those offset grille openings. The front's not symmetrical on an Evo 6. And that was all brought about through that car was really built with motorsport in mind. Question.
Any other questions before I ask one final question before we get would you like to be in for a quiz? It's up to you. I can leave it in your capable hands if you'd want to join us for a quiz. If not, don't stress.
I'll stay, but I'm always in awe of how you guys even know the answer. I'm waiting to see you all like looking it up online. How do you know all these obscure things? I can see Jim there with his phone. I was just like this. I'm definitely up for a quiz. But did you have anything else to ask before we go to that?
I'm just mucking around, by the way, Jim. Wanted to say, obviously, like we spoke last night and about a few other stories that I'd love to talk about on the show, like your history with GTRs and GT2s, Porsches, and stuff like that. I'm conscious of time, and it's a bit of a story. So I'd love to get you on at another point to talk about your career and doing other things as well. But
I understand it, because I'm a big fan of your show. It's it doesn't want to get bogged down on motorsport either. Because but I did obviously everything I did was somehow related to motorsport. But there's a lot of road cars and things in there that we haven't touched upon that who knows might be of interest, might not. But anyway, those ones I know you get to drive some incredible stuff with a career like I've had, and you drive cars that people generally don't get to have a go in and don't get to drive them as they were intended.
Absolutely. Like I found out last night, this magazine I bought years ago, they were testing 3 different 6-cylinder configurations. That's what it was named as. But it was an F6, a GT2 Porsche, a twin turbo flat 6 rear drive, and an R35 GDR. And this guy did the words. He drove on the track.
Get out, really?
He did, and I had no idea. and
he's got the thing.
I've got the magazine.
You've got the Mac.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring it to Adelaide, and I want to go there for about a bit, but I want to get you to sign it. But basically,
wow.
you know, I saw the I checked. I worked today on my break and had a look, and you just see him with his helmet on, beating them around track, and
right.
you know, the story behind it is a cracker. We'll keep that one for another day.
Yeah.
Before we get to the quiz, what's next for Ed Ordynski?
I'm definitely in life after motorsport, and I have been since I was 50. I'm 70 now, but I think, you know, I had a long career, but you sacrifice a lot of other things, you know, for that 20. I would say I was 24/7 a student of the sport, and you know, for Kathy and I don't know when I would have stopped. You know, it was kind of good that Mitsubishi pulled out in that respect, because, you know, age-wise, it would have to have stopped for me at some point. The sport had been good enough for me to retire then, and for Kathy to retire and have a life away from motorsport. And it's not that I don't want to be involved. I mean, I've done lots of things behind the scenes, and, you know, I did a review of the national officiating program recently for Motorsport Australia. So
awesome.
you do some stuff behind, but, you know, the active participation, no, I you know, things crop up, but I love doing other things, you know, like all those things you don't get to do, and you don't have to live life to a calendared schedule and all that kind of stuff. But it was I look back at it wonderfully, but I also know that to do it at the level I did, you had to be involved in it day in, day out to be at the top of your game. And that's what drove you to do it. It doesn't drive me to do it at an amateur, you know, or part-time level.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. I think you've experienced the top echelon of it. So it's kind of feels maybe a bit redundant to come back and I mean,
it sounds a bit
you might even
you
might even want to dabble in it, but then again, you're like, oh, I've gone and done it. I'm gonna enjoy other aspects of life that maybe I haven't had time to.
It's not so much that, it's that the performance in the rally is the result of weeks of work by everybody in getting set and ticking all the boxes to do the best you can.
It's a real team effort, right? Yeah.
I actually loved that process.
Right.
The delivering the rally was actually the straightforward part.
Yeah.
That standing alone, you can't do it at that level without all that other stuff. But without that stuff, it doesn't have as much appeal. You know, when you've lived your life like that, it's a powerful way to be hanging out with a bunch of guys like you. Imagine if we were all working in the same rally team and just building our car for the next one.
That honestly sounds like the dream.
You know, you wouldn't want then just to, like, at 60 years of age, start doing your own in the shed again. You know, it's not the same thing.
Hey, maybe this 318 IS is a...
well, look, Ed, I'd love to get you on again. Love to, you know, in the future. Like, I know you are a busy man, and you and your lovely wife of you know, living a really good life, and you know, you've told us about some of the cars you've had, your Mini Deluxe and your 1600s, and you know. You've also had some great road cars, which we touched on last night, of, like, you know, GR86s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'd love to next time we catch up, if you're so, you know, so inclined, I'd love to talk about the cars that you've had personally, and you know, what cars you really loved, and what cars would you said, oh, probably wouldn't have done that, and nice to get your opinion on that. So I'd love to do that for our next one, if you're so keen to come back on and talk with us again.
Catch up with you guys again, and you know, full marks to you all for what you do with the podcast.
Appreciate that, mate.
Yeah, no, and I love it, even when you're talking about late model cars, or, you know, advising the people who get questions answered and so on. I go along thinking, yes, you know, because I listen to a few other podcasts with motoring journos and things who are doing it full time. You go, seriously, is that what you think people should, you know, like, whereas I think because you guys are so realistically connected with the cars, you tell it like it is.
Yeah, I think
it's very impressive.
We sort of do it. I think when you do it as not a full-time job, you maybe get a different perspective on it too. Like, it's like it's something in the background, but it's like, it makes you sort of enjoy
Yeah.
it in a different way, I guess. I don't know how to really
I think the BS radar.
word it.
I think I think the BS radar is completely off the limits with us because we will be honest about it.
Yeah.
And I think that we've all
And no one's paying our bills.
No, correct. Yeah, like we don't get paid for this. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, Geely, if you're out there, if you're listening,
Val, if you want to give us a car, we're here. So no, it's I think that's the beauty about this show, and as I mentioned, like I love the guys I work with, on this show. It's best bunch of people in the world.
It's very obvious, and you get that across to the listener, which is what
that.
kind of makes it so enjoyable.
Yeah, I appreciate you listening to the show.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It's crazy.
It's a great product, if you can call it that. It's, I feel like I'm being mean to it to call it a product. It's just great.
No, well,
It's the offering.
It's been an honor to have you on, mate. Look, I won't waste any more time.
Can I just ask a really mundane question of Ed?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've answered this question before, but I just haven't heard your answer. If you could pick a Magna in any spec, what would it be?
Well, for me, I would go for the VRX limited edition because I had that the car that Ed built, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, I kind of curated those parts that were on it for the Rally Art Magna. Yeah. So that was kind of my role in Rally Art Magna, was getting the concept over the line of Rally Art Magna. Originally, Mitsubishi wanted to do a Rally Art car, and they finally had the freedom to do a Rally Art car because they'd purchased the rights to the name Rally Art in Australia of a guy called Doug Stewart, who ran Rally Art Australia. So they could do what they like, but Bob Riley from Mitsubishi Rally Art and for myself, we really lobbied to not devalue the name Rally Art by not making something that had significant, proper parts on it. And so they went for it, which was really good. It was always envisaged, certainly by me, that it would have been built on a VRX or top of the range platform, whereas they kind of went for be a bit HSV competitor with this kind of the bright interior, and we always thought kind of a VRX platform would have been pretty good. So when they had to order so many parts to make it viable, they knew they would always have some leftover parts. And so we used those on the VRX limited edition. And, it's kind of nice that the whole thing in the TV commercial they made with having my name on it, thing was a lovely, fit to have to look back on and go, it wasn't just me doing the ad, I was involved in that car going to market for sure.
Did you ever have one to drive?
Sorry, I missed that, David.
I think you need one of those cars.
Yeah.
yeah. That's I nearly had a drive in one my trip was cancelled to Queensland, but somebody who didn't make it to Magna 40 has one, and he's pretty certain, and I think he's right. It's the one that was used in the TV commercial.
Oh, wow.
So I'm actually driving an Evo rally car in the commercial.
Oh, yeah.
The one that's on the truck for delivery.
Yeah, it's back on the truck.
I think they only made 3 VRX limited. I think what he told me was they made only 3 VRX limited editions without a sunroof. And his is a non-sunroof one. And he bought it from a Mitsubishi dealership in Queensland. And they said it was owned by Mitsubishi Motors Australia. And he checked with Mitsubishi Motors, maybe with Adam Davis, I think. Yes. And they only sent one red one to Queensland. So it almost has to be the one car that was in the TV commercial. And he got all the ads and the newspaper ads and everything were in with the car when he bought it. So obviously the original purchaser knew what it was.
Yeah. That's what had all the provenance. Jim, that'll make Jim very happy. He's got a TWVRX. So,
okay.
So
it really, that beautiful suspension, because the Koni suspension is very compliant and beautiful ride, like a proper competition car. Mitsubishi would have put some, super stiff, make the car feel as stiff as possible because people think it's sporty, but we're saying no, a proper car has got to have supple, compliant suspension.
It's got to have some give too.
Yeah. All of that, the wheels, the tires, we had to go to Pirelli and they had to submit tires for Mitsubishi testing and, for impact into curbs and owner use. And that's, again, all that stuff that you miss in Australian manufacturing. I think in one of your recent programs, you're talking about why don't we have more models from Japan?
Yeah.
And some of that is because there's a lot of tests that go on for those cars for country conditions and dust proofing and having to be able to do a 45 impact into a curb and not bust everything. And, all those sorts of things that we had to do as a manufacturer here. That maybe those cars would have to be tested, or the manufacturer thinks they have to be. So all of that was done even for the VRX limited edition.
Wow. You've kind of just spoiled one of my quiz questions about the limited edition. That's fine. It's fine. I'll see what I'll do for that. But
so I could have got a question right.
You could have got the whole question right, because there's a few parts to it, but we'll get to it in a second. Look, we'll get to the car quiz. Gentlemen, you ready?
Ready to go.
All right, boys, let's get into it. All righty then. So, so you're very familiar with the quiz, Ed?
I am.
So the quiz is 10 questions plus some bonus questions. We've got a few players today. We've got Scotty, we've got David, yourself, Ed, Jim, and we've got Chad. Question 1, let's get into it. What was the first place? I'll move this so no one can see. So in case Alan says shenanigans after hearing it, what was the first place in the world to mandate the compulsory wearing of seatbelts?
David. It was Australia, I think. I think it was Victoria.
Absolutely, it is correct. Victoria was the first place in the world to mandate wearing seatbelts. David Prince, you get the point. Question number 2. Which was the first Mitsubishi Evo to feature active yaw control?
Scott.
Ed.
I think Scott just beat you. Scotty.
5.
Oh, incorrect.
Ed. 6.
6. No, incorrect.
Active yaw control. 7.
7. No.
Really?
Yeah. I researched it, and apparently it's not. We'll see what Jim.
8.
It wasn't 8. I'm going to double check it now, because I feel like I've let the team down.
Active yaw control.
No, that's yep.
SAYC.
Yeah, AYC. Yeah. So it wasn't any of those. David Prince, and we've still got Chad to answer.
Oh, well, I'm guessing 4.
It is 4. So the one that wasn't liked the most is the first one to feature active yaw.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because obviously, even on the Rally Evo, all those Rally Evos, it was disconnected.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just not used whatsoever.
It does stuff the driver's got no control over.
Yeah,
so you got surprised.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
No wonder why you guys
that technology is not used in the rally world.
Well, it works really well, with sticky road tires, track days.
Yeah, sure.
All of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But on the gravel, 15-inch wheels, skinny tires, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It would have to be so recalibrated.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be better just not to have it.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Just unplug it.
Yeah.
Evo 4.
Evo 4. No wonder why you didn't like it.
I had one.
Question number 3. Toyota this week have announced the Hilux will offer what upgrade to counter the Ranger Super Duty? They will offer it as an upgrade. What are they offering? Jim.
Is it a GVM upgrade?
It is a GVM upgrade. Well done, Jim.
Factory GVM.
Factory GVM upgrade, wow. Which is something I haven't heard besides
Isn't that just a Tundra?
Wasn't it the same though with the 70 series though? When they upgraded that, I think.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, really?
I believe you are absolutely correct, Jim.
When they put the 4-cylinder in it, yeah.
Yep, that is absolutely correct. Question number 4. The Victorian government has announced a big spend on new speed camera technology. How much roughly have they spent? I'll give you closest to.
Scott.
Chad got in there first.
150 million.
150 million. That doesn't sound too far off what Australia, what Victoria would spend. So 150 mil. Scotty.
I was thinking more like 8.2.
8.2. So Scotty.
Well, Ed, I'm thinking it's over 100 million. So I'll go 130 million.
130 mil. So we got David and Jim to answer.
I'll go 50.
50 mil says David.
I'll say 115.
115. The answer is $28.3 million.
A bit off.
So I think the closest to that would be Scotty. Scotty gets the chocolates there. Bonus question. What does the new speed cameras actually detect besides speed, obviously?
Chad?
I'll give you a point for each because there's a few things it does. Chad?
Is it mobile phone use?
Mobile phone use is one point, yeah.
Well, it says multiple.
There's multiple. There's more.
Can I answer again?
You can, yeah.
Seatbelts?
And seatbelts. Well done. They're the 2 answers. Well done, Chad. So it'll detect speed, obviously. Distracted drivers were using phones and seatbelt usage.
So yeah, they're
Sounds
like an
good.
all-in
Sounds
one
good.
camera. Yeah,
Sounds good value.
they're all on board. Yeah.
I thought we had that already.
They're separate ones.
They're separate ones. They're these ones that they can just place in random locations, so they can just put them there now. They're like mobile ones, which is great. Question number 5. This is the question that we got asked that was answered earlier. The limited edition Magna VRX featured what high performance upgrades inspired by the sporty Magna Rally? Now, you have touched on, so I was going to do a point for each, but you've touched on the Pirelli tires, the P6000 tires. You've touched on that, Ed.
Well, I think it was the Ankai wheels.
Correct.
The Pirelli tires.
That's 2 point.
The what else would that have had? The Coney shock absorbers.
That's 3 points.
3 points. It didn't have the limited slip differential.
Did not.
Does it have the Coney Pirelli tires I asked for? Yeah. Thinking about what did I say on the ad? Yeah.
What did I expect them to install on this car?
No, I'm kind of stuck on those things now. What else did I end up with?
Jim. So
I got 3 points.
You got 3 points. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely, you did. Do you want to have one more guess? But before we
No, go to
Jim.
Was it? I've probably dug myself a hole now. Too bad. Too late. I'm going to say, is it the rear spoiler?
No, because that was offered. But they called them high performance upgrades, but it's in the actual brochure, which I've read front to back. There's a picture of you on the brochure.
So I really should know this.
So they classified like the performance upgrades as this, but they also put them in with. I'll give you guys a hint. The interior and body of the car, Ed.
Oh, they were talking interior, but so not performance.
So yeah, so they said the high performance upgrades, which you mentioned of the wheels and tires, but they've also mentioned these other parts were high performance, but they were really just aesthetic upgrades. So what other aesthetic upgrades did it have, Chad?
Momo steering wheel.
It was. Well, I'll give you a point.
It's not Momo. It's the.
I'll give you a point, Chad. I'll tell you why. Because it was the unique black leather wrapped steering wheel that they offered.
Yep.
What else did they offer on
it?
David.
Did it have the different instrumentation?
No, that was standard VRX.
Was it the Nardi wheel?
I don't know if it was the Nardi wheel. It just said the black leather wrapped steering wheel. It also did say, so to answer to add to what you said earlier, Ed, it said factory options were factory fit was a sunroof, but some cars mustn't have come with them. So that must have been like a special.
Oh, that was a performance.
Yeah,
a delete.
A delete.
Yeah.
That was because I ordered it without the sunroof.
Yeah. So I'll buzz you guys out. What it offered that was unique to the limited edition, besides the stuff we've mentioned, were body colored headlight and fog light bezels. Like the insides were body colored to match. So you got red inserts. Yeah.
Corvette C4.
Yep. Yeah. Correct.
Corvette's getting a run from
Correct. Corvette. Absolutely. Unique upper and lower grills that only came on that specific limited edition. Black leather wrapped steering wheel and the sunroof. Besides the P6000 tires from Pirelli, the Coney suspension, the 17-inch Enkai wheels, and yeah, so it was a pretty nice going over. Great spec. I think it's the pick of the litter.
Yeah,
it's a great spec. Question number 6. We're mentioning Porsche GT2s yesterday, and I mentioned them earlier today. In which Porsche 911 model did the first GT2 appear? So which generation? Chad.
993.
903 is absolutely spot on, Chad. Well done. You're on fire, mate. Question number 7. What car ad featured the song Amazing by Alex Lloyd?
David. The Ford Territory.
The Ford Territory is absolutely correct. Yeah, the Ford Territory. Great song. So now the last one are some brochure questions. So the last 3, I'll quickly get through them.
Can I call a friend?
Yeah, phone a friend. It will
Andrew.
Andrew, right now. We should call him and get him on. The blank DL and blank GL combine comfort, economy, and safety. For 1983,
Ed.
Ed.
It's a Subaru of some sort.
Isn't.
No,
It isn't. Blank.
Subaru Leone, I thought.
Yeah, they had very similar codes. Present a new elegant blank exterior. Just look at the new grille, the impressive hood design, etc. But there are new exterior features that are tokens of a new year. They reflect all the improvements and refinements made to your blank even better and safer and even greater value for money. The new blank Saloon comes with the well-tried B21A carburetor, David.
Volvo
Mm.
282, so 240.
240 is correct. Well done.
Wow.
Volvo 240. Well done, David Prince. Score check. Ed Ordynski 3, Scotty and Jim 1, David on 3 as well, and currently leading on 5 is Chad.
Oh,
So yeah, it's
5.
Yeah, 5. Still anybody's games. Got plenty of time in it. Next one. Blank's luxury sports sedan. Here it is. Your blank escape machine. All 2.6 liters of it. The blank is the sportier sedan. Blank sits low and mean on new 15-inch alloy cast wheels with BR60H low profile steel belted radials. Improved aerodynamics make blank even more exciting than ever. Flush fitting quartz halogen headlamps. Geez, that was a feature. Black window surrounds and bold bumpers. Roll over bonnet and raked laminated windscreen all enhance blank streamlined form. Power performance. Blank's power comes from the legendary Astron 2.6 Baron shaft. David.
Mitsubishi Sigma.
Yes. I'll give you 0.5. I need the other half to it because it's a specific model.
With the alloy wheels, it's either the Peter Wherrett edition or the turbo. So I've got to choose one of those, haven't I? Or it might be wrong.
You could be wrong.
Yeah. I'll go Mitsubishi Sigma Turbo.
Isn't it the turbo?
Ed. Sigma GSR.
Sigma GSR is corrected. Well done. Yeah.
Genius.
Well done.
So 0.5 for both of you because that was, you got the Sigma and you got the GSR.
Astron as well.
They had the 2.6 Astron, mate. It's a long-lived engine. Yeah. And it was rear-wheel drive.
Apparently. Yeah, that's it.
Did you ever drive one of those, Ed? When they were new or anything? Or
no, so no, I didn't. My dad had a Sigma for a while. I'm trying to think when, but no, nothing like that. I didn't ever drive a Sigma GSR or a sports one or a Peter Wherrett or a turbo.
Yeah.
I drove a Cordia turbo once.
They were quite a torque steering thing, weren't they? Like back in the day.
Yeah, it was manageable.
Yeah,
it was okay. They weren't that powerful.
Yeah.
Yep.
I went to high school with a guy that had one. He thought he had the coolest car. I thought it was cool. So,
yeah.
Blank's Outback. Oh goodness me! I've just given it away.
The next one.
So yeah, this is the third one. So, Blank's is Australia's most popular all-terrain luxury recreational vehicle. So Scott.
There's a Subaru Outback.
Yes, it's a Subaru Outback. I gave it away. I gave it away. That's my mistake. That's the unprofessionalism that is me.
You can have half a point for Subaru.
Subaru. I've just wrecked it. But anyway, that is the car. That is the car quiz. That's all 10. Let's get the scores. Jim 1, Scotty 2. By me giving it away, pretty much. Ed
That's a good clue.
Yeah, it was a very good clue. Ed and David Prince on 3.5. And tonight's been on 5. Is Chad? Well done, Chad.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done.
Well done, Bunny.
So yeah, good quiz.
That was fun.
Thanks for joining us for the quiz, Ed.
Yeah, thanks for I'm still in
Really,
how you
thanks for
even know
coming.
the answers.
That's it's useless information that's just stored up there, taking up space for other information, potentially.
Yeah. I mean, like, no, I know that we're all different iterations of those Porsches and so on, but I would have no chance of working out the different models, even though I've driven quite a few of them.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
They sort of all look the same. Just saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim would agree with you. Like whenever Jim and I catch up, it's the most nerdiest, obscure car talk ever, isn't it, Jim? Like we just talk about the most random. Oh, you know the Mazda 2 that comes in that color in the Genki spec with we're sick people.
It's very autistic. Yeah.
No, but it's it's a passion, and it's good to share this with people that love that same thing. So,
yeah.
Look, I want to call it there as a podcast. It has been probably our longest podcast ever. Ed Ordynski, what a pleasure. You're an absolute gentleman, and just for some context, when I was doing research and learning about Ed the man himself, I found a couple of Facebook posts by people that competed against you, and a lot of the comments were like, he's impossible to dislike, even though I tried to because he was so good. But he's such a gentleman that one of the nicest guys. Like, I think a guy called you the gentle assassin because you were such a nice, gently spoken man. But you were so good on a rally stage, and it's an honor and a privilege to have you come all the way here. Thank you again, mate. I know it's out of your way, and we like. I know I speak on behalf of me, but from you guys as well. It's such a privilege and an honor to have you here, and your breadth of knowledge. So thank you, mate. Much appreciated.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And it's been terrific. I just from the moment we all met at Magna 40, I thought, wow, you said, "Oh, would you think about coming on the show?" And I think I just said, "Well, tell me where and when." There. And so thank you for having me. Thank you. For making me so welcome.
Thanks for making the trip.
Yeah, thanks for making the trip,
mate. Thank you very much.
As I mentioned to you, like yesterday, we're going to come over for Beta Birdwood, and we should definitely catch up.
And I have to come back on to report on my BMW.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Car updates. It needs to happen.
I'm calling for the update.
You absolutely can.
You are more than welcome anytime. The invite it's always an open invite on this show. Let's do some plugs. You get to hear the plugs in real time, Ed. David's words of wisdom.
Oh, I've got a cracker. Why else are we here if not to live with unreasonable passion for things?
Oh, that personifies tonight's episode, really, doesn't it? Jim Barlow, Jim's car taking. If you want your car exercise, let's put it that way, to do 40 or 50,000 kilometers a year, hit up our boy Jim. Yeah, he'll give it a good run for you.
Well, actually, on that, since I've been driving my Cordero more, the auto power up and down window function has woken up again, so it does work.
Really?
I'm telling you, there's something in that cars need to be used. It wakes them up. It wakes them up.
I agree.
That's a car talk top tip, Jim.
Absolutely, car talk top tip. Yeah.
Scotty's snitches or Scotty's golf tip of the week. Which one are we doing today?
We're going to do golf tip of the week, I reckon.
All right. Do you play golf by any chance?
No, I don't.
Okay. So, well, hopefully you've learned something from these.
Hopefully you're learning.
Yeah.
Don't always think that you need to go out and buy new golf clubs. It's probably you.
Okay. Let's go on.
A chef never blames his tools.
A chef never blames that is correct. Chad's delivering things, delivering Magna clutch forks and things now. So yeah.
Hopefully it's fast shipping.
Yeah, fast shipping. Godspeed. So once those parts come in, we'll pull the box out and we'll do it again and get it on the road. I can't wait to see you drive that again.
Yeah. Well, it'll end up at Beta Birdwood.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
100%. That's really exciting. Ed, anything you want to plug?
I've got nothing really to plug. No, sorry, I can't think of anything I can plug.
Plug
super cheap.
Super cheap. I thought you were going to say.
I think I plugged the BMW warehouse. Yeah, Cameron, Mount Barker.
No, it's yeah. You've done a lot of plugging. It's great. Like and share our Facebook page. It's Car Talk TORQ. Matty J. If you miss any of our previous episodes, they're all up on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasting app. So don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review to us there. Check out our merch. Go to the link is in our show notes below this podcast, or if you go to printlocker.com, you can type in the Car Talk store and you'll find us there. You find all the Magna 40 merch from Magna 40. You'll also find some of our other designs and stuff on there as well. So you can support the show there. We've got hoodies, shirts, and all sorts of different car-related paraphernalia. Find it on there. Also, we are also on YouTube. So we're uploading all of our current episodes to YouTube. So you'll be able to hear them from there if Spotify is not available in your region. Gentlemen, honor as always. Again, big thank you to you, Ed, for coming on, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.
Thank you.
See ya.